Oh brother! Here we are, once again diving back into a pretty forgotten series, and once again it's a bloody World War II shooter, which, honestly, is something I'm falling back into lately. It's an interesting time period for the whole world, and the number of stories to tell from across the globe are an absolute well for good narratives to construct a game around. One such story we have right here, the joint American and British, plus a few other countries, operation to drop airborne troops into the Netherlands, to secure a series of bridges that would create a salient into northern Germany, giving access across the Rhine River and ending Germany's part in the war by Christmas 1944. The operation was dubbed Market Garden. It did not go well. I'd even call it a colossal failure. Almost as much of a failure as Brothers in Arms not getting a fourth game. Gearbox has the manpower and skill to make good games. We know this. There's already been 3 Brothers in Arms games that were all pretty good. Ubisoft has the international reach to give a sequel a pretty complete marketing campaign. Both of these studios also have comically bad upper management. Focusing back on the good things for a moment, Hell's Highway might look a little bit different from its former brethren. That's what jumping up to a more recent game engine will do to you. This makes everything look a little bit sharper than it did before, with much prettier lighting and effects all around, with a little bit of stiffness and jank here or there, because better graphics always demand a blood sacrifice. Good thing the gameplay wasn't the sacrifice in this case. Hell's Highway is a good case study on what trends were hitting the broader shooter genre in 2008, coming in the wake of Call of Duty's success and the emergence of Gears of War as a pretty popular cover-based shooter, which also just so happened to be developed by Gearbox. So, being a decent pack of developers, the line workers at Gearbox repurposed bits and pieces of their knowledge, mainly a camera shift when the player character enters cover, into Hell's Highway. Most of Hell's Highway is seen through the eyes of Matt Baker, as you'd expect, but you can actually nestle up to and take cover behind those glorious chest-high walls to properly use them for not getting deaded by them German boys. There's also a bit of a glorification to the killing in the form of these little kill cams when you rip off a good shot or kill the last enemy in an encounter, as well as rather than taking direct damage in the open and reflecting said damage on the little paper doll health thing that was in the corner, the screen just turns very, very red as the bullets whiz past you in a suggestion that you should take cover. Hell's Highway, compared to the first 2 games, feels like it's had a thick coat of Hollywood paint applied to it. It shows up more in the narrative, especially in the cutscenes, but it's still there in the gameplay. The fact one of your squads can carry a rocket launcher, and there's nothing stopping you from spamming that until the enemy evolves into tomato paste, is something I'm okay with. The kill cams and empowerment moments, such as the opening scene with the MG42, is something I could have done without. Not to say that these moments weren't enjoyable, but I can slowly feel that grounded and gritty feeling that Brothers in Arms started with slipping through the cracks in favor of something a bit more bombastic and exciting, kinda in line with the old school Call of Duties and Medal of Honors. Like, even in the writing of Hell's Highway, there's a pretty significant story retcon, and the only reason I can think as to why it was added was for the sake of a little bit of drama in cutscenes. Spoilers, I guess, for the story of Hell's Highway. But there's a plotline about the pistol that Matt Baker carries on his person for the entire game, and how there's some sort of curse around the gun, being that anyone who isn't Baker that touches the thing gets killed pretty soon after. Remember Alan and Garnett out of the first 2 games? 2 homies who were basically considered to be the same person? Yeah, their deaths are shoehorned into this little background piece of info for no other reason than adding a little bit more depth to the death of Leggett at the climax of Hill 30, as far as I can tell anyway. Like, there's an entire cutscene for the moment when shit do go down, and I'ma keep it a buck. It's not great. Leggett does not seem like the homie to, you know, actually be aggressive and frustrated, yet here we are, seeing the bullshit happen in front of us. Oh, and Baker's homie who drove that Stuart tank and gets torn up by a machine gun, apparently he held the all-important pistol at that point as well. So it was predestined that he was going to get gunned down at Dead Man's Corner. While I'm going on a mini rant as to how bullshit I think moments of the plot are, that storyline with the pistol just kinda fizzles out and doesn't mean too much. And you might say it's meant to weave into the secret that Baker was holding on to, because if everyone knew the story of how Alan and Garnett actually died, Leggett wouldn't have made it to Hill 30. It's a weak plot thread, but not as weak as some of the other holes I can punch in the story, like how this little line from Red is factually bullshit.
No one got hit. Damn miracle.
I don't know, Red. Looks like a little bit more than 0 casualties to me, just saying. Also, trying to hide that mysterious soldier in the opening is going to be something most people pick up on from the first cutscene, because people can recognize voices pretty well most of the time. Also, Frankie is an idiot, and probably should have been beaten a bit more as a child for not understanding what an order is meant to mean. While we're still going, it's made a point that Corian, one of the OG troopers, really wants to become a sergeant. It's actually a plot point that rears its head for a bit of drama, which is why I find it funny when one of the first cutscenes in the game shows this.
He
Tell him about the
ordered us
Jeep.
to follow him to Sun with the 506.
What's that, Corian? 3 chevrons with a base. That'd be a staff sergeant insignia. You know, that rank that only Baker and Red are meant to have in this game, you queue-jumping hack. Remember when I mentioned drama being part of the story? Oh yeah, there's a lot of drama here. A lot. I understand that a combat operation is going to put a bit of stress on everyone involved, and that the rulebook is going to be thrown out the window every once in a while. But there's literally a plot point about Frankie disobeying an order and deserting his squad for the sake of chasing pussy from a random girl he met the day before, to stack no paper and get no bitches, because his final reward was a bunch of bullets and an early cremation. Red and Baker also getting to a shouting match based off the death of a minor character from the very first game, rather than agreeing that that shit was just kind of bad as a standard and wanting to hunt down the culprit in that scenario. Red not immediately going to a superior officer or a medic when he sees Baker shooting at the air in the hospital level, which, to even my stupid brain, is a clear sign of a mental breakdown waiting to happen. Corian and Frankie having a shouty when Frankie is trying to comfort a dying priest in the middle of an active firefight when the squad needs to not be in the firing line of an MG42. Corian not punching Frankie for being an idiot when he wants to chase pussy. Corian chucking a hissy fit when he doesn't get a promotion in light of a friend being injured. Corian is actually a bit of a drama queen in this game, I'll be honest. There's like one good point I can think of involving Corian. That bit with Baker's face being fucked up and the moment with Red. Yeah, good moment for Corian right there. Doesn't help him too much in a few levels time, but no well. So, as you might be able to guess from the amount of bitching I just carried out, this Brothers in Arms is a little bit more dramatic and Hollywood-like in its entirety. Not necessarily to its overall detriment, but I'm still going to complain about it. And while I continue to complain, there's 2 potential points in this game where you could have had a mini plotline emerge to add a little bit extra something something. Maybe have the characters involved be responsible for a few of the deaths that take place, I don't know. There's a brief moment, as in a single mission, where you're tipped off to some German officer in charge of some Flak 88 guns that you need to take out. There's even a little cutscene showing off this evil bastard himself.
Lighten up, Corian. It's just a...
And here's where you end his existence. Feels kinda anticlimactic, don't it? Not only is that kinda bad, they double down on that execution in the next mission. There's an enemy sniper that's given a semi-meaningful intro with the death of Cole, like I mentioned a little bit earlier. And in the very next mission, you're shown him taking out another friendly soldier in a church graveyard. I don't think it would be beneath the game to kill another character you've gotten close to right here. At least this sniper gets a little bit more of a send-off than the Flak 88 officer. That right there, aside from another minor story where you're trying to track down this kid named Chap-ter because his dad is actively helping you out, is about the extent of interesting plot points that occur in the entirety of this game. Do you smell that? It's the scent of missed opportunities. Seriously, you missed out. You could have done something with some of these story moments. It reeks of wanting to be like other successful shooters on the market, rather than sticking to what made this series work in the first place. However, the composition is still solid. Ed Lima and Duncan Watt did a nice job in carrying the OG feeling of Brothers in Arms, keeping that World War II doco style sort of feeling to the Sonic aspect of the experience. No song feels out of place or mistimed for the situation, and you've been listening to the soundtrack the entire video so far. You could almost say that it's still pretty good. That's the sentence I can run with for Hell's Highway as a game. It's still pretty good. Even though it's a bit older of a game these days, it's still a good game to experience, especially coming off the back of the other 2 entries in the franchise. There's a bit more drama than I feel is needed, but it's still pretty good. The gameplay has got a few holes in it, but it's still pretty good. The narrative misses a few beats, makes a few mistakes, but it's still pretty good. And the theme of the narrative carrying my interest in Brothers in Arms still holds true in Hell's Highway. And it's the reason I'm hoping for a 4th game, because they all but confirm the location of said hypothetical 4th game with this little sliver of dialogue.
You've made it through hell. How do you feel about snow?
I can handle snow.
Brothers in Arms, in Bastogne, Battle of the Bulge, one of the bloodiest and most horrific bits of winter fighting that didn't involve the finish? Oh, to be blunt, Hell's Highway is a good game. Highly recommend if you took my advice in the last Brothers in Arms video and played Road to Hill 30 and Earned in Blood. Otherwise, you're definitely going to be missing out on some context and impact behind some of the deaths. I've got a strange sort of feeling with Hell's Highway as a game, knowing that some writer at Gearbox probably has an idea of how the story will end, but we probably won't ever see it. Feels sad, man. Oh well. In the next one, I get to drop out of a spaceship and enjoy moody atmosphere. At least a little bit. I'll see you then. Ciao.